This program is proudly brought to you by Telecom Limited and Daytech.
Joining us for discussions, we have the President of Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Rio Fiocco. Rio, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Firstly, Rio, from the Chamber's perspective, how has 2025 been so far?
Well, this year has actually been a bit disappointing. I would say overall trading conditions have been flat. Late last year, we were hoping that the Wafi Golpu was going to be announced at the mining conference in Sydney. That unfortunately didn't happen, and we're still waiting for Wafi Golpu to be announced. And likewise with delays happening with the Papua LNG financial investment decision. The latest we're hearing now is most likely Q1 next year, first quarter of next year. And for businesses here in the nation's capital, the development of the Papua LNG will give a tremendous boost, not just to Port Moresby, but also Central Province and of course Gulf Province, where it's badly needed more investment.
Have there been any positive news from your perspective?
Well, there has been some positive news here in the nation's capital recently, and that is the launching of the Maya Resources Pacific Cement and Lime project. That's just next to Kiddo village in Central Province, not far from the PNG LNG site. And that's going to be a great project. It's been just announced to be given special economic zone status, which gives them certain tax benefits. Funding is now in place for that project, and it's now just been given the green light, and groundbreaking was just a few weeks ago. So that's going to give a tremendous boost, but more importantly, when that project is producing cement, the cost of cement domestically is going to come down significantly. And of course, that's going to help building costs right across the country.
Now, Rio, in the recent 100 PNG CEOs survey published in November last year, it noted that a critical impediment facing PNG businesses was the lack of foreign exchange. Has the situation improved or regressed so far in recent months?
I'm pleased to say that it has improved quite a lot, and that's mainly due to three things. Firstly, the increase in the gold price, which has increased by 40% in the last 12 months. Second major factor is the increase in the cocoa price over the last 12 to 18 months, which has basically quadrupled in price. And also this year's the coffee price has increased as well, which has been good. So the cocoa farmers and coffee farmers have had basically a bonanza year this year, and that's brought in a lot of foreign exchange. Those products are sold in US dollars, and that's brought that in, so that now anyone who wants to buy US dollars to import items, plant, equipment, machinery, pay for goods and services, they are able to get those dollars from their bank, usually have their order filled now within 1 to 2 weeks, which is a big improvement on the situation 12 months ago.
Apart from lack of access to foreign exchange, were there other factors identified in the survey?
Yes, foreign exchange has been the number one problem for the last few years, but as I said, fortunately, economic situation has improved in that regard. The number two is reliability of power and water, and unfortunately, they are now the number one concerns of businesses, the reliability of power and water, and that's having a big impact on businesses, particularly those in the manufacturing sector, who in some cases the power in some areas, particularly Lae and even the rural towns, Kavieng, Kokopo, Kimbe, etc., the power is so unreliable that they have to provide their own power, which unfortunately means burning lots and lots of diesel, which is very expensive and also not good for the environment.
Is there a specific recommendation that the Chamber is proposing to the government?
Well, we've had some recent consultations with the new CEO for PNG Power, Paul Bailey. He has a very sound strategy that his board has approved. It's a turnaround strategy, and it will take at least 2 years to really get things going. But it's pleasing to see, and he's having agreed to have regular consultations with the chambers. And there are some what you call low-hanging fruit that he can get fixed and increase the power supply not just in the Port Moresby grid, but also in the Ramu grid as well as the Gazelle grid.
Thank you, Rio. We now go for a quick break. Join us on the other side for more discussions. Welcome back. You're watching In Focus. Now, Rio, with the potential grey listing of Papua New Guinea in the event that PNG fails to meet the FATF anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing standards prescribed under the Mutual Evaluation Review, how will this impact the PNG economy?
Well, unfortunately, it's not going to be positive. It will mean that it's likely that PNG will go on the grey list early next year, and it's going to mean that it's going to make it more difficult and more cumbersome in doing international transactions. So when you want to send money overseas, your bank here will want to know more about where the source of those funds, and likewise their corresponding bank overseas will also be asking more questions. So there'll be more compliance costs for the banks, and ultimately more likely those costs will be passed on to the consumer in terms of the cost of what they call TT fees and so forth. So I think we can expect an increase in those transaction costs, and also delays in having money sent overseas just because of the compliance costs.
As an industry as a whole, has it prepared to adjust itself around these new restrictions?
Yes, the banks here are well aware, and have been for some time, in terms of increasing the number of people working in their compliance teams, and likewise the same for FASU, the regulator at the Bank of PNG. But it's going to make overseas investors looking at PNG look a bit more closely, and it's not the end of the world. We've been on the grey list before. The intention is that we need to work hard to get off the grey list as quickly as possible to make the country more attractive for foreign investors to come in.
Now, Rio, how is the Chamber strategizing around this, and if in the event that PNG is grey listed?
Well, we've had a number of meetings, particularly with the head of FASU, Wilson O'Neill, and talking to our members, who are all the banks, to make people aware of what the issues are with the grey listing and the mutual evaluation report. Papua New Guinea has passed all the necessary laws, anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing and so forth. There's a few more amendments required, but the main problem is we're not enforcing those laws. Very few people have been prosecuted to date over breaches that have been reported to the authorities. And that is where we're failing, the prosecution of the AML laws and CTF laws.
Now, to another topic, the Minimum Wage Board is set to present its findings soon. Would the Chamber be open to a higher minimum wage rate than the initial $3.50 per hour? If so, under what circumstances?
Look, I think all businesses recognise that the minimum wage, certainly in the nation's capital, is not enough for a person to sustain themselves, and let alone support a family. So just at the Chamber, we've recently increased the wages for all of our staff as well. So most companies are already paying above the minimum wage. It's a competitive marketplace, and depending on the skill set of the people you're looking for, you have to pay above the minimum wage to get those people. Otherwise, you won't be able to compete, because someone else will pay to get. There's a war on talent still going on.
Now on to another topic. Given the strong push for the establishment of special economic zones in the country, a notable example would be the Paga Hill Estate, which has been described as a tourism economic zone. Is PNG ready for casino tourism?
That's a very good question. Personally, I think the answer is no. I think we should be looking to develop other sectors of the tourism market first, and the most obvious one would be international cruise ships. We really should be building an international cruise ship terminal downtown, either at the Old Port or what's called the T-Wharf, to attract the international cruise liners to come into PNG, and also for people to fly into PNG to meet the cruise ship to go off on their cruise. So we really should be trying to target these international cruise ships to come to Papua New Guinea. A few come, sometimes they visit Alatau, sometimes they go to Rabaul Port, but there's a big market out there of wealthy people wanting to cruise around on cruise ships, and Papua New Guinea, as you know, has so much to offer for tourism.
On a broader perspective, what immediate interventions would you like to see the government undertake before SEZs commence operations?
Well, the problem from nearly all of the SEZs that's been announced is a lack of infrastructure. So, as I was saying before, we have a deficit of power in nearly every centre in the country. So, take for example the Madang PMIZ, which is earmarked for tuna canneries. Well, a new wharf needs to be built first so the ships can come in, and of course you'd have to have power for a tuna factory. You also need regular supply of water, and then of course you need to have ready access to people to work there. Transportation, roads, etc. Roads, bridges need to be upgraded. So I would urge the government to really plan ahead. It's no good just announcing we're going to have an SEZ in a place like Ihu when you can't get there. And there's nothing there, and there's no power, there's no water, no infrastructure. No manufacturer is going to come and set up and expect them to build all these things. It doesn't work that way.
Now, on a related note, we've seen the government embark on various taxation reforms. What are your views on them so far?
Look, our members have put to the government certain recommendations to amend the tax laws to make them easier for business. But the biggest problem that businesses now face are getting their GST refunds processed. There's a huge backlog with the IRC, and unfortunately that backlog is getting bigger, and I'm not sure what the issue is with the IRC, whether it's a manpower issue or software issue or whatever, but the GST refunds is a critical issue for business. A lot of businesses really need those GST refunds to enable them to keep trading. Otherwise, they're going to run out of money and stop, particularly the people like the coffee exporters who are not getting their GST refunds paid in a timely manner.
Now, in terms of foreign trade, how's the government performed so far in terms of enabling PNG produce to access foreign markets?
Look, the government is quite proactive in meeting different countries. Papua New Guinea's signed certain agreements with China so that some of our coffee and other commodities can be accessed to the Chinese market, including seafood, which is all well and good. But as I said, the infrastructure is quite often not there. So we need more shipping routes to be connecting PNG and particularly Lae, the main port, to the Asian markets. And likewise, we can't wait for Air Niugini's new Airbus A220 planes to come, and hopefully they can start flying to newer routes as well.
Now, finally, the NRL has recently granted an NRL license for a Port Moresby-based franchise. How optimistic is the Chamber in the potential of spin-off benefits and investment into Port Moresby?
This is going to be a real game changer. The Australian government have done some economic studies, and they estimate that it will create 5,000 new jobs here in the city, which is amazing. So we need more new hotels, buses, transportation, and hopefully when the teams come up here to play and their supporters come up from Australia, or in the case of the Warriors, the Kiwis come up, then they'll not just come and watch the game, of course, but also see the sights of Port Moresby and hopefully go off to the Highlands or Goroka or Kokopo, do some diving, fishing, trekking. We have so many things to offer. So that's the whole idea, that we can offer these tourism opportunities for the visitors who come to watch the NRL.
Now, finally, we've just celebrated PNG's 50th independence. What message would you like to say to Papua New Guineans on behalf of the Chamber?
We'd like to wish everyone a very safe and happy independence. It's going to be exciting times in the next 50 years, and I would urge everyone to really enjoy the occasion.
Mr. Rio Fioko, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Before we go, we take a look at some of the highlights from the recently hosted Petroleum and Energy Conference 2025.
someone may actually run away from Australia. But as we at this juncture appeal to the point, especially insofar as providing affordable and reliable power to our people, and of course businesses who operate in our country. It's very, very important that we ask this question. Do we continue with business as usual in terms of the provision of reliable and affordable energy services? Or do we continue to step up our efforts to drive our economy further, create more jobs, and improve the lives of our people? Our government, the Maori government, Maori Rosa government, is built around progress, and that we believe is our core function. That is why we are here. That is why we invest a lot of money in the energy sector. Like any country, the production and distribution of energy is central to the economic development and the benefit of our people in our country. The production and distribution of efficient and reliable electricity in PNG has always been controversial. Never a day goes by without a power blackout. This is because it's obviously an essential supply that our families and businesses need in order to advance our lives, our businesses, and everything. Just like in areas such as healthcare and law enforcement, when services are functioning, we do not receive many complaints. There are no controversies. However, when there are disruptions, especially in the water and energy sector, we are all frustrated. I must admit that our leaders are very patient and understanding people. Some of the most understanding and patient people in the world, I dare say. We've faced a tough road, especially with our own company, POMCCI over the recent decades. The failure of many governments in the past to help POMCCI Power find the upgrade of generators and green lines has led to the situation we are here today. Solar energy stands out as one of the quickest ways to expand energy access, easily that can be plug and play, especially to our rural households. With advancing technology and the natural abundance of sunlight having gone flashing us in the tropics, we can illuminate every corner of our nation using solar, battery, and hybrid system. Wind energy presents an exciting opportunity for diversification. Although new to PNG, we yet to have a wind turbine compared to Vanuatu, where trial few wind turbines. We have untapped potential with wind resources that could propel us towards a more resilient future. Bioenergy, given our agricultural base and transforming waste into bioresource energy, bioenergy not only aids in energy generation but also creates employment opportunity and form of cooking gas using bioenergy for rural communities. Geothermal energy is one of the subsector that's also untapped, given that we have been in the Pacific Rim and our potential is huge, equivalent to the hydro potential earmarked at 20 to 30 gigawatt of resource potentials. In addition to those policies, I'm thrilled to announce the opening of the Star Sea Center, which Minister of Energy, was very supportive of. Over the next 50 years, our energy sector must become more diverse, more resilient, and more aligned with global clean energy markets. Natural gas will remain vital for now, stabilizing our economy, but renewables will be a long-term foundation. What frightens me is not that energy will become the new gold. It's that we might not be ready to benefit from it wisely. That others may come, take control, and send the rewards away, while our children remain spectators on their own soil. That must not happen.
Well, viewers, that ends this episode of In Focus. Do join us again next week, Monday, on our regular time slot of 7 p.m. Till then, bye for now.
This program was proudly brought to you by Telecom Limited and Daytech.